Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self Confidence Project. I'm your host, Kimberly, and I'm super excited because today's podcast video is me just getting a chance to jam out and have a great candid conversation with Dr. Robert Glover, who authored the groundbreaking book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. So many of you have probably heard of him. Maybe you even read his book. If you haven't, you might want to go pick it up after listening to our awesome conversation today. And if you don't, already know, Dr. Robert Glover he's a coach, he's a mentor, he's an author that focuses on men's relationships, health, success, sexuality. He's got 40 years of experience and has authored 4 books. Of course, we're talking about No More Mr. Nice Guy today, but he's got 3 other great books out there. And he's also the founder of Integration Nation, an international community for men. So, guys, if you've ever struggled with feeling like you're too nice in relationships, or maybe you lack boundaries, or you notice that you kind of do things in order to get the love and admiration you want, then you are probably going to want to stick around for this awesome conversation that we are having. Please let me know your comments. Please let me know your thoughts. If you haven't read the book, let me know if you're going to go pick it up. And I'm sure Dr. Robert Glover would love to hear and see some of the awesome comments that you guys are going to drop below in today's interview. Now, I know some of you guys think I'm a little long-winded when it comes to my openings on YouTube. So if you want to get into the juicy content and great part of our conversation, you might want to zip ahead approximately about 3 minutes because we're just saying our hellos, we're getting set up and all that good stuff. So if you want to jump into the juicy bit, zip ahead about 3 minutes. And then we are jam packed with value throughout the entire rest of the conversation. So, guys, enjoy it and let me know your thoughts below. Are
Shut
you going to
down.
make me jealous and tell me you're actually in Puerto Vallarta?
Is that going to make you jealous?
Yes.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing to make you
A good thing.
jealous? You tell me.
I was
Okay.
just down there. Well, not in Puerto Vallarta. I was on the Baja side. My folks live in a little town called Los Barriles.
Okay.
And it's like just looking over the Sea of Cortez. And
That's
I'm
that's that's very different than how it is here.
That's true. It is different. But in terms of weather,
Good weather.
a lot nicer than being in rainy Vancouver, BC.
Oh, that's where you're at.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's where I'm at. Yeah.
Okay.
How long have you been living there?
All right. I'm just doing stuff like renaming myself, getting my camera set up. We'll keep chatting in a minute. I'm eating a little bit on my protein stick, just and
You
then
do
we'll get
you.
everything set up.
Yeah, you do you. We're in no rush and all's good.
All right. Good. And then in just a moment, I will pay better attention.
No problem. Yeah.
Let me get the camera lighting a little better.
I know. I had to pull out all the ring lights today because it's so dark here.
That didn't make much difference. So,
It's looking clear for me, just so you know.
well, just a little bright,
Oh, okay.
a little brighter. I think I've got a very expensive camera there. That's a little bit better shading, but
Okay.
it doesn't do brightness better. I actually bought another one. I just haven't installed it yet. So,
Fair enough.
um,
Well, you look like
all
you have a
right.
pretty good setup there. You got a nice microphone and headset and
Oh,
everything.
I got the nice mic. I got two big lights up here. I've got two 27-inch high K monitors, high def monitors. I've got the preamp. I've got the Mac Mini. I've got, the powered USB port that everything runs through. So,
Oh, I
it
love it. I
technology is great when it works.
It
Um,
totally. And you know what? I don't even have a headset on. I'm using my speaker or like my computer microphone because now I have this fancy old software that I run everything through and it just auto creates studio sound. So I don't even worry about it anymore.
and you sound fine. You sound good.
Good, good.
All
Well,
right.
I'm excited to connect. How are you doing today?
One last thing, I'm going to turn off
Okay.
self viewer so I don't have to look at myself. There you go. Just got
Okay.
you on the big screen.
Amazing. And that's how it is for me. I'm only just a small little camera above. I don't want to look at myself.
Yeah, I hate it when I see myself moving my hands a split second after I'm moving my
Yeah.
hands, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah,
Kind
it
of like,
messes with your mind.
wait. I don't want to look at me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been in Puerto Vallarta, probably lived here at least part of the year since 2010.
Okay.
It's kind of, and I understand Vancouver. I'm from
Yeah.
Seattle. So
Yeah.
it was 6 months, down here, 6 months in Seattle. Summer's great,
Yeah.
up there where we're from. Winters are terrible. I'm sure your days are even darker and
Oh yeah,
shorter than they are in Seattle because you're further north. Well,
exactly.
I love Vancouver, beautiful city. But
Yeah,
yeah, I came down here 25 years ago, first time, and just in October, and just loved the sun, the warmth, the culture, the beach, the food, the margaritas. Just it was everything. I go, I'm coming back, and I'm gonna work on my Spanish.
perfect.
So just kind of kept coming back and made the move down here. Part of about 3 months first time in 2010. I had a private
Yeah,
practice up in Bellevue, just east of Seattle, and so it's kind of hard to walk away from, an
yeah, it
office
would
with
be.
practice. I was already doing, long distance sessions over Skype, so
Mhm.
that technology was already there. So kept coming down here, and then I bought a house down here 8 years ago. Married my Mexican wife just right after that. So
Yeah.
this is home. I get up to Seattle quite a bit because my mother still is up there. She'll be 90 in May. So I
Oh,
get up
good
there
for
and
her.
visit her, and my son and my
Yeah.
granddaughter are over in Eastern Washington. He works at Washington State University.
Well, I'm sure they
Uh,
don't mind visiting you from time to time either.
my granddaughter has never been here,
No.
unfortunately. Her mother, my son and her mother have been divorced since she was 2. Her mother wouldn't let her get a passport till like she was 16 or 17. And
Okay.
now it's just been a matter of just she's busy, she's not in school during the summer. They got soccer camps and she went to Peru last year for travel and just they're busy.
Got
Um,
it. They'll get
but
around to it
they'll, they'll,
eventually.
they'll, they'll
Yeah.
get down here, Riz.
And then they'll realize, oh my gosh, we've been missing out on this great place. Why didn't we come earlier?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
son's been, so he knows, but just my
Yeah.
granddaughter hasn't made it.
Okay, so
So,
it's marrying your Mexican wife. How's your Spanish now?
uh, ella y yo hablamos español todo el tiempo. Ella no habla inglés. Um,
Okay. Okay.
she doesn't speak English. Well, she can if she's
Yeah.
forced to. She can speak a little bit. She can speak more than I know she does because she doesn't speak it to me, other than maybe a little bit of slang or a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
let's go, or
Got it.
fuck
So
me, stuff like that. She can swear in English pretty well.
forced you to learn it then because you didn't really have
Which
an out.
I'm I was okay with it. I told her years ago, even if she learned English or got fluent, I
Yeah.
always wanted her and I speaking Spanish. Number one,
Yeah.
because I want to keep learning.
Fair.
And Spanish is just a sexier, more loving, more friendly language than English.
I would
Um,
agree with you on that. Yeah, I would.
so
I've got Spanglish though.
that works. That works.
Bro,
Between Vancouver and the Sea of Cortez, your Spanglish will probably get you by.
yeah, it does. It gets me some great drinks and the right kind of taco and gets me to and from the airport, and that's pretty much all I need.
That works.
Yeah.
And if you ever get immersed in it, you learn it. You
I
just
think, yeah, I think it would like a lot of what I probably stored in my memory bank would come back out if I was there and forced to
it
do it
does.
fluently. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, no one speaks it here in Vancouver. So it was, you know.
Not a lot of great ways to practice,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Well, I'm super stoked that we're connecting. Obviously, I've
me
known
too.
about you and I've got actually two of your books here. I was like, I swear I have another book of yours, and I picked up the Dating Essentials for Men a couple of years ago too. And so I'm really excited to. Obviously, you're probably thinking this book is just like keeps recirculating. People probably are still buying it a lot.
Oh, my
Yeah.
royalty checks keep getting bigger every year, so it's
Yeah,
not
that's what I
slowing
mean.
down.
Like that's the thing. It's like, when did you actually write the book?
Uh, we're recording, aren't we? This could be part of the interview.
I recorded
Um,
from the beginning just because sometimes the best bits come when we're away.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
Um, you know, No More,
2003.
Mi- No More Mr. Nice Guy came out in that print edition of early 2003. It had already
Yeah,
been out in an ebook version back before ebooks were kind of very common,
yeah,
around 2001. And but I'd actually it took me 3 years to get the book published, so I'd
right.
finished writing it well over 25 years ago. And
Holy macaroni.
like I said, the royalty checks keep getting bigger every year, and
Yeah,
there's more and more nice guys out there, and more coaches and podcasts and
yeah,
people recommending the book. So it keeps growing. So
yeah. I was gonna say, like, I feel like when I think I picked this book up. I mean, I'll probably look at my Amazon history because that's where I got it, but it's probably like 5 years ago. And I feel like that still people are misunderstanding the term a little bit, I think.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble, who published the original version, I think hoped there'd be some pushback,
Yeah.
that there'd be a little blowback on it for the title, and
Mm,
I think they were waiting for that. Never happened.
yeah.
I can understand. I mean, the books, the title's got kind of a paradoxical title. Everybody's probably said it at some point. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm not taking it anymore. Enough
Yeah.
of that. But you pick up a book, you say, why would somebody write a book teaching men to be not nice? There's already enough not nice men out there. We don't need to write a book. But that kind of cognitive paradox or distortion, I think leads a lot of people to pick it up. But a lot of people also, I was down in Austin, Texas back in October getting a new tattoo from a
Nice.
guy. And I'd met him several months before and gave him a copy of my book. And
Yeah.
then I made the disappointment to come back a few months later. And so he's working on me, and this guy's in 12-step program and is a twice convicted felon. I found out something. He went to prison technically for dealing drugs. But
Mm,
I found out he didn't actually get sentenced to prison for dealing drugs. He got it from avoiding arrest. And I thought, wait a minute, it's against the law to avoid arrest. I'm
yeah.
thinking that's a smart thing to do. If you got policemen chasing you, it makes sense to not let them catch you, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go to prison. But the guy's, he's a recovering addict, and I'd given the book. So we're talking, over about 3 or 4 hours as he's working on my tattoo. And he's Mexican heritage as well. And we're just talking about life and personal growth and development and sobriety and recovery and all that good stuff. And he goes, I got a confession to make. I go, what's that? He goes, I haven't read your book. He said, I know you gave it to me. And he goes, the title kind of sounded kind of shitty to me. And I thought I didn't want to pick it up and, find out, I'm teaching guys to be assholes. And I
Right.
go, not at all about that. I can understand why people might
Mhm.
assume that. That's actually part of the appeal, maybe, is that
Yeah.
people, might have a little confusion. So the book's not about becoming an asshole. It really is about
Probably not.
becoming
Yeah.
what I call an integrated man.
That's
Somebody you
right.
can trust, that's authentic, that you can depend on, that's his true self.
Yeah, who knows himself and his own boundaries. And whenever I use the term in any of my content, nice guy, you know, the comments are always like, well, what's wrong with being nice? And it's like, okay, no, we need some further elaboration on this because being nice is great. And women that are dating men in particular want nice men, obviously.
Well, you want somebody to treat you well, but you don't want a
Yes,
boring, doormat that you can walk all over. And
that's right.
yeah,
Because
you don't
guess
want that.
what?
That's not sexy. That's not interesting.
Not sexy, lose respect for someone who doesn't stand up for themselves, and all that. So, this is going back obviously now 25 years, but and you're the recovering nice guy, so to speak. But was
I
there
am
a
indeed.
defining moment? Did you just go at one point in your life, like something's not adding up? I need to start researching this for myself, or like what was the moment or epiphany,
Not
if you had one, that
not that
inspired you to
not
sit down and
that
write this?
not that sexy at all.
Okay.
What
That's
what
okay.
happened? What happened was my then wife, my second wife,
Yeah.
um, basically told me she was going to leave me if I didn't go deal with my nice guy issues. Um, I had acted out in some inappropriate behavior, and I'd stopped it. And about a year later, the person who I'd acted out with told her about it. To this day, I still don't know why, but I'm glad she did.
Okay.
And my wife, of course, was not happy. And she said, you need help. She said, everybody thinks you're such a nice guy. But she said, I'd rather be with the asshole because at least I know the asshole's going to treat me bad consistently. You treat me well. You do nice things for me. You do this. Then you hurt me. You're passive aggressive. You lie to me. You cut me down. You disappoint me. You don't follow through. She said, you need help. If you don't get help, I'm leaving you. Well,
Okay.
even though
A little ultimatum.
I wasn't at all happy in the marriage,
Yeah.
but she was gorgeous and I didn't want her to leave me. And so I thought, well, you're the one that is unhappy all the time and nothing I do is good enough and you're always in a bad mood and you never want to have sex anymore, but I'll go get therapy. Well, I landed in some good places. I landed in a 12-step group for sex addicts because she said, you're a sex addict. I quickly found out I was not having enough sex to qualify as a sex addict, but it was all men.
Yeah.
And it was the first place in my life I started just being vulnerable, being authentic, just telling about myself, thoughts, feelings, wants, past behaviors, impulses. And, I grew up in fundamental Christian church. I had a really critical father. I grew up during the angry feminism of the 60s and 70s. And I was trying to be that good guy, that good man, different from my dad, different than the bad men women complained about that only wanted one thing, blah, blah, blah. So I started revealing myself in ways I never had in my entire life. And, the strongest reaction you get in a 12-step group is, thank you for sharing, Robert.
Right.
That's it. That's nothing more.
I.e., a safe place for you to
Safe
open up.
place
Yeah.
to be vulnerable, to
Yeah.
just be authentic. And so I also got into therapy, learned about boundaries. I was in my 30s, probably close to mid 30s, already had a PhD in marriage and family therapy. I was a therapist in my second marriage, and I'd never heard of boundaries before.
Mm.
And I remember I went to work with this one, a woman therapist, very first session. She got a string, put it on the ground, started talking to me about boundaries and did a little exercise with me. Now, I don't know if she did that with every client on their first session, or she could just look at me and go, this guy needs the boundary
Right.
presentation. So, and then soon after that, I got into a men's group that was primarily focused on sexual shame. And I was in that for about 5 or 6 years. And it was really during that time where I began writing what became No More Mr. Nice Guy, but kind of how it came about. I didn't set out to write a book. Like I said, long answer to your
I
question
love it.
about
It's a
how it
great
came to be.
answer. Yeah.
As a marriage therapist, I was seeing individuals and couples, and men were coming sometimes with their wife or girlfriend, sometimes
Yep.
on their own, and they'd say, I'm a nice guy. I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I treat her better than her ex. I'm raising her kids. I pay for the private school. I buy her the car she wants. I give her
Mhm.
everything she wants. It's never good enough. She's never happy. She's always in a bad mood. She never wants to have sex anymore. And I go,
You're like, oh,
I'm
this
not
sounds
the
familiar.
only one that,
Okay.
that thought that thought if I'm a nice guy, I'll get everything that I want. And
Hmm.
not only am I not getting the rewards I wanted, like a line I heard years ago that I have in the book, that whereas for nice guys, no good deed goes unpunished. You try to do nice things and you end up with somebody mad at you. Why are they mad at me? I was trying to do a nice thing.
Right.
And so I started a No More Mr. Nice Guy men's group probably about 30 plus years ago. We met every other Wednesday, and I just started writing chapters. Now we'd call them maybe blog articles, whatever. I started writing, giving them stuff that I was learning about me,
Yep.
about how we became nice guys, why it didn't work, how to do this better. And over about 6, 7 years, I just wrote. The book itself probably got reordered about three
Yep.
different times. If I published everything I wrote, it'd be about that thick. Luckily, it's only about that thick. And so
Digestible.
it was just
Well,
a
as a
process
punch
over
in the
time.
gut digestible,
There
right?
you go. There you
You
go.
get to the punch in the gut really quickly. And I know I want to keep hearing what you're saying, but I just remember when I first started reading it, I underlined, where are we? And I sometimes would
The
just
part
see
about nice guys aren't nice.
the characteristics of nice guys. And I was like
Yeah,
underlining all these, nice guys are often more comfortable relating to women. Probably why a lot of men choose to work with me, by the way. I thought about
probably.
that. Nice guys seek approval, they avoid conflict. And then where was yeah, then the punch in the gut was like, they're dishonest, secretive, compartmentalized, manipulative. I would send that to clients and they
Yeah.
would be like, I'm like, just a forewarning, like this might like suck to read a little bit, but let's talk about it, right?
Yeah. I've had plenty of people tell me they were pissed off at me,
Yeah, I bet.
and that took them years to read it because it was so hard to read. I got an email yesterday, and I don't get many of these. I got two emails from the same person yesterday, and it was from a different culture,
Yep.
and he wrote me and he said something about he's reading my book, and he said he took me to task with two things.
Okay.
One, he said, you blame feminism for all the problem with nice guys, and you don't, it's usually our dads that are the problem. I thought,
Mm,
well, actually, I talk a lot about dads in No More Mr. Nice Guy, and maybe make a passing reference to feminism. So I think he was cherry picking somewhat.
for
But then
sure.
he cherry picked something else. Says, and you're teaching men to be disrespectful to women. I'm going, where did
What?
he get that?
I
So
didn't
he,
get that.
he sent screenshots of his Kindle. and where there's breaking free activities in the book. I think
Mhm.
50 something of them that give you a way to go out and practice the
Yeah.
stuff that I teach in the book. And in there, I said that nice guys will do their best to present themselves, make a good impression, to be
Yeah.
liked and loved. And I gave a list of examples of things that they'll do, all the way from having a clean car to dressing well, to going to the gym and being in good shape, to being generous, to being
Mhm.
respectful of women, and on and on. He picked that one line out and said, I was telling men to not be respectful of women. You even gave it as an assignment. And
Uh-huh.
I learned a long time ago, there's a lot of emails you don't reply to.
Yeah.
But even if I do actually come up with an answer in my head,
Uh-huh.
but the guy wasn't particularly hostile. I just thought he's just cherry picking something because it fits.
He
It,
also, it sounds like
but
he took something and reverse engineered a different
he
meaning.
did
Yeah.
because my answer I could have given him was, all right, look, when I said that nice guys go to the gym to make a good impression on people, think that will give them value. I don't encourage men not to go to the gym.
Right.
I'm just saying that's how men try to get their, it's their covert contract. And being respectful of women can be another one. Well, the guy actually wrote me back. I haven't answered him. I probably will. A very nice letter. And he said, by the way, I really am enjoying the book and I'm getting a lot out of it. And he probably, for whatever reason, decided, had probably has issues with authority figures because he already brought up the dad thing,
Yeah.
and he came at me, but then he wrote about three sentences to follow up, and so I'll write him back and I'll say, listen, you took it out of context. Thank you for taking the time to write me. I appreciate it. And but that's just an example of it can be hard. It
Yeah.
can be hard reading and seeing yourself in this mirror or this image that the book puts out there and goes, I don't like that. In fact, I hate that, and that's me. And
Yeah.
so that can be painful. And
I mean, you wrote it for men, but when I read it, I was like, I also do half of the things in here as well, right? Like it's just, it's about, for me, like what I took from it, at least the first read through, was know yourself, know your boundaries. You need to be able to know what those are so you can advocate for
yeah,
yourself. You have to learn to do that in a way to present yourself as best as possible, but it doesn't mean you won't hurt someone else's feelings. You're not going around in the world trying to hurt other people's feelings. You're actually trying to going around in life, not hurting your own. Right. And
yeah.
it's not just either being nice or being an asshole. There's a whole lot in between.
Well,
And
let's
yeah,
dive into that. That's
yeah,
actually a good place to go. And you're right. Like I said, Barnes and Noble thought maybe there'd be blowback, maybe from women. Oh, he's teaching men to be not nice.
right.
I get more emails. uh, I maybe have gotten a total, maybe, of 5 negative emails in 20 plus years from women. I actually get more from men. I get more like from that guy that I was just telling you
They're
about.
more triggered. I like
The
that.
the guys that are saying, "What do you mean my single mother couldn't raise me to be a good man?" I know, I just say that boys need a father, right? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
But the women that write me usually say one of two things is that they can see themselves in it, just
Yeah.
like you say, or they see their father, their brother, their ex, their husband. Women will write me and say, how do I work with my 17-year-old son? His girlfriend already walks all over him, and I tell the woman, I say, I appreciate you care about your son, but probably anything you do at this point to try to help him deal with a girlfriend that walks all over him might be a contributing part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
He's already
Yeah.
getting his guidance from
You
women.
can give him the book. It's up to him to read it, do
Exactly,
something about it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we
but
like to meddle. Women do like to meddle. And even like me and my own relationship with my partner, it's like, you want to give them the lessons in the shortest way possible, but often it's because there's something I'm wanting from that. I want you to be
oh,
better.
really?
Yeah, oh, really? Would you just be less nice, but also just
Yeah.
make sure you're extra nice to me when it suits me and whatever.
Well, an example of that when I was doing a lot of marriage therapy, and I'll get back to the asshole, nice guy, that what's in the middle. Couples would come in and I'd always start with the guy because if you start with a woman in couples therapy, she'll bolt. But you start with the guy, and I'd start, kind of big stick upside the head and talk about why his partner needs him to be honest and transparent and communicate and have boundaries and set the tone and lead and have good guy friends and, blah, blah, blah. And often I would then teach them how to set boundaries, like my therapist taught me years ago. And I'd put the string on the ground and get them up and talk about boundaries and how it's up to them to decide who can come in their space,
Yep.
what they get to do while they're in there, how long they get to stay in their space, when it's time for them to leave, what they get to. I say, you're an adult. You can say yes to what you want to say yes to, no to what you want to say no to. And while I'm teaching these men about boundaries, I'm not making this up. Many times the women would like applaud while I'm teaching the guy about boundaries. And the guy would look at his girlfriend or his wife and go, "You mean you want me to stand up to you, dear?" And she goes, "Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that I can walk all over. I don't respect myself when I treat you badly." And I've had so many
Yeah.
women say that. I hate it when he lets me be a bitch to him
Yeah.
because I am sometimes and then I feel bad.
Yeah.
So I tell the guy, I said, your partner really does want you to be boundaried for many reasons. She wants you to know that wants to know you have personal boundaries, that your word is your word, and that you take
Mm.
good care of yourself and you live by a certain standard of integrity. She wants to know you have boundaries with your mother, with
Yeah.
your ex-wife, with the women at work. But mostly she wants to know she have boundaries with her because if you don't have boundaries with her, she'll assume you don't have boundaries with your mother, your ex-wife, and the
Yep.
women at work. And so she wants you to set boundaries. I said, but let me warn you, the first time you set a boundary with her, she's going to push against it.
You won't like
And
it.
you're going to go, "I thought you
You go,
liked it when I
see?
set boundaries." She goes, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
want you to set boundaries, just not this one.
Yep.
Set a different one, with your mother, not with me." So, yeah, a woman can't feel safe. My ex-wife, one who said, "Get into therapy or I'm
Mhm.
leaving you," she used to say to me a couple things. One is, "How can I know you'll ever stand up for me if I don't know you can stand up to me?" Thought,
Yeah.
that makes
I like
sense.
that. Okay.
She wants a man. She said, "It doesn't make me feel safe when you kind of cower in front of me when I'm angry at you or giving you the cold shoulder, or the withdrawal and all that." She goes, "I want to know I'm with a man who will stand up to me and stand up for me." And then
Mhm.
she would often say, "I'm just a little girl making noise." And I'm going, "Oh, you mean you're not going to leave me just because you're mad at me about something or you're having a bad day or
Mm.
no, I'm just making noise." I go, "Okay, that's a good perspective to have." Nobody ever informed me of that before, that if
That's
a
a
woman's
great
upset at you, they're just making noise. They don't
one.
mean they're going to leave you.
Conflict or one bad argument doesn't mean it's all over or the ship is sailing or the house is burning down. It's like, as you well know, it's like when women make noise or and we don't always do it perfectly because we're not very direct communicators. But it's usually our way of saying like, hey, we're wanting something, we're needing something. Let's address
Yeah.
something, work through something, not I'm frustrated at you and now you need to feel like a total failure and you need to leave this relationship because you aren't perfect and oh no.
Yeah. And one of the things, I think this is in No More Mr. Nice Guy, but one of the things I say to men, a woman's reaction to anything a man does not determine the rightness or the wrongness of the thing the man did.
Yeah.
I often have to repeat that to guys.
Yeah.
They can just replay it. So just because your woman's upset at you doesn't even mean you did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you need to fix anything. Doesn't mean that you're bad. Doesn't mean that she's leaving you. It just could be today it bugged her, yesterday it didn't. And that happens. Um,
And women tend to, move more with how they're feeling, and that changes very quickly.
it,
Right?
it, it, it does. And, your feelings can become facts and you're just sure of something. And the other thing related to that I tell nice guys is that women by nature, and I'm making a generalization, anytime we talk about men and women is generalization. We're
Yeah.
talking about a bell curve of
Yeah.
what generally falls inside the bell curve of women, what generally
Mhm.
falls inside the bell curve of men, that women by evolution have always been security seeking creatures.
Yeah.
You weren't as strong, you weren't as fast, you're carrying a baby inside of you or carrying a baby in your arms. You can't fight off the wild animals or the marauding hordes. And women throughout history always looked to men to be providers and protectors. It's just kind of an evolutionary thing. So if a woman is a security seeking creature, many things can trigger that sense of not feeling safe or secure. I tell men, just look at hashtag me too. That was just another way of women saying, we don't feel safe.
Yep.
And for good reason. And, maybe parts of that wasn't always true, but there was enough truth to it that it supports
Mm.
that women do not feel safe walking the planet. I'll ask a guy, do you feel safe walking through your own neighborhood, at night? Oh, yeah, no big deal. I said, the woman in your life doesn't feel safe walking through her own neighborhood in the daytime.
Yeah.
That's how unsafe it feels to be a woman for many different reasons. So what's helped me tremendously? I've been married 3 times. I got a PhD in marriage and family therapy at 29 years old. I'm not sure it helped me at all. I bumbled my way through every relationship I've had, which is what we all do. And I say that to
So
people
I don't
because we
think
all
anyone should be preaching their relationship is perfect because I'm sure we can all poke holes in it.
and we're not born knowing how to do it. We don't usually have good role models of how to do it. And the thing we're trying to do probably isn't even in human DNA to do it, to have long-term pair bonded
True.
monogamous
Yeah,
relationship
we're
with a
not
member of the
monogamous by
opposite
nature.
sex. We're
Yep.
not. And it's not in our DNA, but we've been told we should be, and you should be able to get along with that same person living in the same house with them for the next, 70 years. Grandpa and grandma did it. So we're trying to do something that's not natural. But the thing that's helped me the most with my wife. And she's a woman. Her moods fluctuate. One day things one this is a good thing today, it's a bad thing tomorrow.
Mhm.
She was talking to me today about or yesterday while we're walking about a friend. And she says, I'm thinking about maybe not going to this class with the friend anymore. And I go, okay. I said, tell me tomorrow what you're thinking. Because I said, you've had this friend for a couple of years now, and you've told me you're never going to talk to them again. You're never going to do this again. And then next thing you know, you're buying them a gift. And the next thing they know, they say, oh, they just called. Can I go hang out with them? I'm going, well, I've just gotten where I just don't even, say, but yesterday you said this about that friend. I
Although I
just
feel
don't
different
even.
today.
So I was just kind of teasing with her a little bit
Mhm.
yesterday and said, tell you what, the class isn't until Thursday. Maybe just don't even worry about it till Thursday because you'll probably change your mind 3 times between now and Thursday. And I said, and you'll want to have a
Back. Did you
and
playfully hit you after you said that?
she goes, I know, I know, I know. Yeah, I said it very loving. We were walking the dogs. It was a very relaxed time.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but here's the deal. When she seems to be unhappy in general, or especially if that unhappiness seems to be directed at me, my tendency, because I'm a nice guy and I've got my covert contracts, I think, what have I done wrong? I shouldn't be in trouble for anything, blah, 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 blah. And so I try to talk her down through, over, get her off the ledge, get everything back to good. I just don't like people being upset with me. I interviewed Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote Five Love
Yes.
Languages, a couple of months ago. And he's very religious, so I kind of watched my language with him. I said, could it be possible that my love language is just fucking be happy? That's all I want. I will feel loved if you're just happy.
Yeah.
Every time you get unhappy or pissed off or withdrawn or moody, I mean, I feel unloved.
Mhm.
So that's just me. That's just me. So instead of projecting my stuff, what I've learned, and this seems to be holding true, that if my woman is upset at me, and your guys listening, this is really a good hack.
Mhm.
If your partner, if your female identified partner seems to be unhappy with you, probably it's one of three things. She's not feeling sufficiently loved by you right now, not feeling sufficiently secure with you right now, and not feeling sufficiently connected to you right now. Now, defending yourself, telling her she's wrong, vindicating yourself, getting into a fight about it, it's not going to change any of those three things of her not
Oh, it
feeling sufficiently
amplifies it,
loved,
actually.
connected, or secure. And so what I do is I ask myself, I actually say that in my head when I feel
Mhm.
that I got to fix something, she's upset. I
Mhm.
go, all right, is she not feeling sufficiently loved, connected, or secure? And often it's secure because her mind can think up all kinds, like as a security seeking creature, she has
Mhm.
to think up the worst possible thing that might happen. And she's also a jealous Latina who every man she's ever known her entire life has been a serial philanderer.
Okay.
Um, this is like the not feeling secure. We have a house next to us where they tend to rent out rooms in the house. And for
Okay.
whatever reason, the person always seems to get the room on the back of the house with the balcony is always a youngish woman, almost always. Why that is.
Coming
And
to eat, pray, love in Puerto Vallarta.
yeah, and I like sitting out in my backyard. I have a beautiful garden, a swimming
Yeah.
pool in my backyard, and I lived, I grew up in Seattle, you're Vancouver.
Yeah.
I love that I can be outside year round.
Mhm.
Okay, so my wife often assumes I must be sitting out back, so I'm wanting to check out the putas that come out on the deck, and I'm having an affair with them, and I've been
Right.
accused of affairs with multiple women who've lived in two houses behind us. Never even talked to any of them.
Oh boy.
But anyway, one day my wife's all mad. I go,
Mhm.
what? She goes, you tell me what? I go, no,
You must have a
no,
secret here.
no, you tell me. I go, no, what is it? KS, KTNS.
Yeah.
What do you got? She goes, same thing. I go, well, you got about 12 same things. Which one is it?
Which of the
Is it you think I have a girlfriend who I'm texting to, or you thought I looked at some woman's butt walking by on the street, or you think I'm fucking the neighbor?
Oh my
That one.
God.
That one.
That
I
one.
go, that
Okay.
one. I
Yeah.
go, why do you think that? You
Mhm.
tell me. And I
Because I
said,
sat
no.
outside.
I
Yeah.
said, really, what I usually tell her is, listen, why don't we just skip all this part? I'll just yell at you and say hurtful names. You'll cry and I can hold you and we'll be okay. And she
Hmm.
goes, no, it's not the same if you're not really mad at me. I go, okay. I said, tell me why you think I'm doing something with the neighbor. And she
Hmm.
goes, there's like a white towel hanging in the bathroom window.
Okay.
I go, and this is all in Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And E, and I go, I had to take a stab at it. I said, so that towel is a signal for me that says she's ready for me to go over and have sex with her.
Oh,
She
this is
goes,
like this isn't a surrender. This is a come over flag.
it's a come over flag. And I
Oh.
go, she goes, what else could it mean? I'm thinking
I
just
love
off the
it.
top of
I
my
love it.
head.
Woman logic. Yeah.
Let me just take a few guesses. She's hanging the towel up to dry. And so she just hung it in the window. No,
Okay.
that couldn't be it. Couldn't be it. And so, yeah. So what if instead of me trying to figure out why is she so crazy? Why does she accuse me of stuff I haven't do? Why can't she trust me? Why can't she feel secure? It's like, hmm, is she not feeling sufficiently loved, sufficiently connected, sufficiently secure? Usually it's the security one,
Okay.
right?
So
You-
sounds like
of-
something triggered her insecurity and she just needed a little reminder from you that you still love her and cherish her.
and
The Latino way.
trying to talk her out of that doesn't work. But usually I'll say,
Yeah.
come here.
Hmm.
No. I said, no, no, come here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See,
Come
but this
stand
is
next to me.
important
Yeah.
because you now can do this a little bit like Rip Wheeler in Yellowstone. Like you can work through sometimes I don't want to use this CRAZY word with women, but like a little bit of that emotional illogicalness. It's like I think it's important that men can stay grounded and not take it personal and push through it because if they can, they're gonna get to that tender
Well,
woman.
this is 8 years of work on my part.
This is what I'm saying. It takes a little bit.
I got into a men's program 7 years ago that was all about masculine embodiment, learning to be the rock, learning to be
Yeah.
solid. Not caring, but just being. And so here's the deal. Anybody, it's not just a woman, but anybody, if you're in your head or where in your nervous system about anything, almost always you're in a time machine. You're
Yeah.
either in the past, dwelling on something from the past, and my wife, like other women I've been with, are just great at bringing up stuff from the past that never actually happened in the first place, even when they were mad about it in the past. Now they're bringing it up in the future, even though it never actually occurred. They're sure it did, or they're in the future. They're in the future. Well,
Yeah.
you must be going to go over there and do this, or you're doing that, or you're doing this. Whatever direction a person's trauma tends to lead them, past or future, the best way to help somebody move through a trauma state is get them in the now,
In the
get them
present
in the
moment.
moment.
Hmm.
And by me being calm,
Yeah.
anxiety is contagious in
Yeah.
all herd, flock, tribe type animals. Anxiety is contagious as part of our survival. It's built around mirror neurons in the brain. My pit bull Nala, and somewhere down here, oh, there she is back there behind me. She's got the same mirror neurons. Anxiety is contagious for her, but calm is contagious as well.
That's
So
great.
if one person, and I say this in my All the Way In course, and I learned to teach this to couples, all it takes is one person to calm their lizard brain in
Mm-hmm.
the moment, that calm is contagious and it shifts the system,
Yeah.
shifts the system. So if I can stay calm and breathe, and if I say to my wife, come here, come here. Now, not only am I calmly getting her in the now, I'll say, come here. And I'll put my hands on her and I'll touch her. I'll say, look at me, look at my
Mhm.
eyes. So I'm now bringing her into the moment. I'll start breathing regularly. I don't try to get her to match my breathing, but my
Mhm.
me re-breathing, she'll kind of, I'll put my hand on her side and maybe I'll kind of nuzzle her neck a little bit. Okay, tell me all the things that you think that I'm doing.
Mhm.
And then I'll say, you know how much I love you, and she goes, well, I think you want a younger woman who speaks English. And I go, no, I can't do any younger. You're 22 years younger. Any younger than that, it's too crazy for me. I know the crazy I got. I'm gonna stick with, this crazy. I don't need to go. And I'll just be loving and
Yeah.
playful, but it brings her into the moment. So I'm doing two things. I'm bringing her into the now, into the present, out of the time machine that is her head. But the second thing that I'm doing is I'm creating polarity with her.
Yeah.
Is that I'm creating a loving dominance.
Yeah.
And if I tell her what to do and she does it, she's now in a submissive state.
Hmm.
And for most women, in order to feel safe and trusting and secure, they've got to trust our loving dominance.
Yeah, they have to allow themselves to relax into your presence or our man's.
Into that,
Yeah.
whatever words we want to use for it, they have to open,
Yeah.
right? And so if I'm saying, come here, talk to me, tell me what's in your mind.
Yeah.
I'm making a joke with her. I'm saying, look in my eyes.
Hmm.
I'm going, I'm telling her how much, and if she does any of the things I say to do, I get the dominance and submission are kind of evil words out in the woke community, but I'm not being harmful. I'm actually being loving to her. And
No.
when she can actually begin to open to my loving dominance in the moment, that's trust, that's security.
Yeah.
And she begins to relax into that moment. And now that she and I both worked at this, she does her own work too. She's got her own healers and her own groups and does her own work. And she can catch herself a lot quicker. She'll move through stuff a lot quicker. We were in Home Depot yesterday, waiting for waiting for the guy with the forklift to get some floor tiles
Yeah.
down off the thing. And so we were standing outside the little gate they set up because we're buying some floor tiles for remodel. While he gets them down, then another man goes to talk to him, and then this woman comes by, and she worked there, touching the guy on the arm and just standing there. And I already know my wife, I already know her well enough that just goes, all right. She's already thinking that woman's there. And after a little bit, she goes, now, I said, it's a typical Mexican thing. It takes four people to get together to do one job. And she
Yeah.
goes, yeah. And she's just there. The poot is there just for attention. And I already knew it was coming. And in the past, I probably would have paid some price for that woman
Right.
standing in the aisle in front of us,
Hmm.
while with the guy talking to the guy running the
It's
forklift.
your fault she existed in the first
It's
place.
my fault. But you know what? I just soothed myself through all that, didn't say anything about it. And as we're walking to the car, she kind of snuggles up to me, kisses me on the shoulder, and says, you know how much I love you. And I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking, that's one reason I love her, because she did her own work in that moment,
Yeah.
right? Because I knew she was probably triggered by that woman just standing in front of me. And she wanted the other men's attention. It wasn't mine, but
I
she
know.
assumes they want my attention.
Yeah.
So she has soothed herself as well. So again, if one person can calm themselves and soothe themselves and be in the moment, it often then energetically invites the other person
A
to
hundred.
soothe themselves and be in the moment.
Operative word is if, because so many people aren't understanding or haven't learned the skills or don't have enough practice to stay calm in small triggering moments. And obviously, you've had a lot of practice yourself in your
My
life. I
my
can,
my wife's given me a lot of practice.
yeah,
I'm very
right?
grateful.
You probably were like, oh, dear God, give me some patience. And then a Latina showed up in your life, right? But you've had a lot of practice.
How did you know?
Yeah. And I'm certain you're not,
That's exactly how
yeah.
it worked out.
And I'm certain you're not perfect at it. But in terms of what's a good first step, like in this, I know the whole No More Mr. Nice Guy is a whole catalog of different things that men can do. But in terms of helping, inspiring, teaching men to learn not to allow little instances to trigger them. Like, what's your kind of piece of advice here?
All right. First step is what I'm doing right now.
Mm,
Both of my feet are flat on the ground.
okay.
I'm barefoot because I like to be barefoot as often as I can.
Grounded. Yeah.
I'm grounded. I feel the ground in my
Mhm.
feet. When I'm sitting here doing an interview, I mean, I do enough of them. I've done enough of them. I probably, for the most part, look pretty calm and relaxed, and I am.
Yeah.
I am. And even though I've done a lot of them, I still practice things that I know help keep me grounded and relaxed during
Good.
the call. If I was talking to a client like this,
Yeah.
I'd be doing the same thing. Feet are flat on the ground. My tailbone is square on my
Hmm.
seat. I'm sitting up straight. I have good posture. I might lean in a little bit, but I'm not slouching. I'm not, and I'm fairly, my eye contact stays, even though we're on
Yeah.
Zoom, stays
Yeah.
present. And I'm breathing a nice, easy diaphragmatic breath the entire time. Now,
Hmm.
I've been a public speaker since I was a junior in high school when I was a state debate champion. I was a minister for 8 years. I give enough talks and presentations. You learn to ground yourself. I mean, everybody is terrified of public speaking.
Yeah.
They say it's the number one fears. It's a bigger fear than being naked in public for most people. But if you do it enough times, whether it be naked in public or public speaking,
Yeah.
you
Use.
learn you learn to ground yourself and be
Yeah.
comfortable. So everybody can learn the process. So when I start with men, like I said, even in couples therapy, I'd always start with the guy. One of the things I do is let's get you grounded and not so reactionary. Because if you have two reactionary, two lizard brain people trying to resolve something,
Highly unproductive.
that's why you end up in my office because it
That's
doesn't
right.
work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
If one of you can be so with men, and this is what I learned in the programs I've been in, is what I teach. We practice sitting
Hmm.
straight, standing straight, having your feet on the ground, breathing nice, easy diaphragmatic breaths, making eye contact, maybe matching the other person's breath,
Hmm.
doing things that get you grounded in the moment. Now, it's also really helpful to be the observer of what are the stories in your head. What it's because one of the things for me, since we've been talking about my reactive patterns with my wife,
Hmm.
is that all she has to do is get a look on her face. Like just to me, it's a scowl, it's a downturned mouth. And I have a panic in me, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna die. So I know enough to know she's not gonna kill me. She's not gonna leave me. She has my initials tattooed on her front hip. So she's not looking for, her life. She has an amazing life. She flies first class, you know, goes to spin classes, dance events, wears Lululemon. She has a good life. I treat her well.
Yeah.
And so she's not gonna leave me. I know that. But in that moment, my internal nervous system is, I'm going to get left. I'm going to get abandoned. I'm going to die.
Okay. Yeah. Because
So
that's your inbuilt biggest fear is I will be abandoned.
that's my trauma. That's
That's
my trauma.
okay.
And I've done enough therapy and done
Yeah.
enough work. It's come from multiple sources. I had surgery at 5 days old. So I was probably taken from my mother, went through the pain of surgery. Probably that's how it began. But,
Right.
there's other pieces to it.
Yeah.
So I have this nervous system reaction. And most of the things that people respond to or react to in the moment is old. It's old nervous
Right.
system. Like
Old
there's a
pattern.
phrase that says if you're feeling it, you've felt it before.
That's
And
right.
so, Viktor Frankl's got a quote that a lot of people quote a lot that, basically between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our, what is it, power and freedom? Something like that. I'm
I've read the
misquoting
book,
them.
but I didn't zone
There
in
you
on
go.
that quote, but
That,
love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a space there, but most of us react.
Yeah.
Our nervous system goes into fight, flight, freeze. It's called sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
We're reacting. And it's always built usually around old stuff that's being brought into the present moment. And I've always said, anytime a reaction we have in the present moment seems out of proportion to what's happening in the present moment, it's old. So if my wife,
Hopefully you can recognize that it is out of proportion.
well, we don't.
Yeah.
Most of us don't. We go, everything we're feeling is 100% about what
True,
you're
accurate.
doing.
Yeah.
You're causing it.
You
But
scowled, and that means
you
this.
scowled.
Yeah.
If you'd stop scowling, I wouldn't feel this.
Yeah.
And so, but and my brain does go there. Well, if you just didn't scowl, I wouldn't have these reactions and I wouldn't try to talk you down. And then when you double down on the thing you say I did, I blow up and I say hurtful
Mhm.
things, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's not about her. She triggers something. I mean, I just say, she's this short little Mexican woman that I didn't even know 10 years ago. And she can trigger this thing like I'm gonna die. No, it's not about her. I mean, she
Yeah.
loves me. I love her. It's old. So if you
Yeah.
know that it's old, you can watch, you can observe both what you're feeling in your body and whatever stories start going in your head. Because in the reaction state, our heart rate's going to go up, our breathing gets shallow. We
We're
do
gonna,
go into fight,
yeah,
flight, freeze, sympathetic nervous system, all the stuff with the dilation of the eyes and the blood leaving your stomach to go to your muscles and all that stuff. All happens without you thinking. But your thoughts are usually what perpetuate the situation. She's doing it again. I didn't do anything wrong.
hmm,
All of that keeps you in that state. But what if you could go, oh, I'm having a reaction. I don't think it's about her scowl. I think it's old. And then I'll go, if I go two directions with this, go, okay, what's my reaction telling me about me? What's my story here? And what is her scowl saying about her? And again, if I just keep it simple,
yeah.
not feeling loved, not feeling secure, not feeling connected, probably is one of those three things. If I can interrupt both the nervous system reaction and the thought reaction,
Mhm.
and if I have some tools already in place, like
Yeah.
get the feet on the ground, take a nice, easy breath, be firm, see if you can get them to make eye contact with you, be in the now. If it's a set of tools that we can all learn. Male, female, young, old, we can all learn those tools because we all have these kind of situations in life, whether it's with a coworker,
Yeah.
family member, a child, somebody else in the car that just cut you off. If you can stay grounded, keep breathing, pay attention. Oh, my heart's going. I'm afraid. I'm activated. My
Yeah.
mind is this.
So
And
name it to tame it. And the fastest
yeah,
way
I love that.
to slow down, the fastest way to slow down your nervous system is just by slowing down, right?
Breathe. Just
Yeah.
breathe. That's
Take
the
that breath.
number one key. Breathe.
And then
Take
you
a
can
breath.
respond and not react because we're so much of our lives, we're reacting all the time. Yeah.
And the reactions are part of our survival mechanism.
Yeah.
They've served us at various times in life. But unfortunately, that sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze,
Yeah.
most of the time we don't have a hungry tiger crouching at us. We don't
That's
have somebody, with a
I really
weapon
need it.
over our head.
Not very helpful.
Usually there's not a semi truck heading at us at
Yeah,
80 miles an hour. Now, when there is any of those things, it's good to have the reactive state. It's
that's right.
good to be able to be activated. But the rest of the time, we're at work, we're with family, we're
That's
with a
right.
partner, we're with our kids, we're driving a car. In most of those situations, there's nothing life threatening happening, but
Yeah.
we're having reactions as if our
As if
life
it is.
is at threat.
For me, I have this one phrase, and I actually learned it from human design, but for me, it was there is no truth in the now. And for me, that just caused me, okay, that just means give myself a little bit of space to almost disassociate, not in a negative way, like shut down, but disassociate from the feelings of the situation so that I can look at it, understand it, process it, and then respond. And because I'm, woman, Virgo, perfectionist, always need to make quick decisions. So it's like there's no truth in the now. Just take a break, think about it. You're gonna feel very different, probably in like 90 seconds from now.
If you take that pause, if you
If
take
you
the
take the
break
pause.
and breathe,
Yeah,
and again, a really magical question is, what is my reaction telling me about me?
yeah.
What part of my story is being played out right now? Because yeah, for example, of course, I've wanted countless times, for example, for my wife not to be jealous or insecure.
Or yeah, if
Countless times I've
you just
wished that.
wouldn't scowl, we could all be happy.
Yeah, if you didn't accuse me of looking at some woman's butt, or if you didn't
Yeah.
say that woman standing in front of me was trying to get my attention and
Yeah.
therefore you're mad at me for it. I've wanted that to go away, but here's a few things. Number one, I would still have my nervous system triggers. They're still going to be there. So I think it's a lot more effective to treat the things that trigger me, i.e., somebody I care about and I love, and I know who loves me, that every time they trigger me, it's an opportunity. It's a
Yeah.
gift for me to get triggered, right? You know, nothing's going to change in my life if my triggers stay the same. If
Yeah.
I don't, no matter, doesn't matter who I'm with, where I'm at, and I even playfully, say that, you know, I'm in my professional life, I'm reaching a status. Some of my friends said, Robert, no, you've been there for a while. I'm reaching a status where I'm somewhat well known out, on the internet and
Mhm.
places like that through my book and videos and interviews. And I've always had this somewhat anxiety of what if I get canceled? What if I get attacked? What if I get accused of this? And that's kept me somewhat paralyzed at times. It hasn't really for a while, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I playfully told myself that my wife, Lupita, is God's gift to me to prepare me for any attack I might get from her. Like the guy that sent me the email yesterday. Again, it wasn't a hurtful, mean attack, but it was accusatory. It was taken out of context. And
Yeah.
I didn't lose any sleep over it at all. And so I thought, okay,
Nice. I'm still
I,
working
I,
on
I
that.
thought there is nobody on this planet that can scare me like Lupita does, like my wife does. So I'm thinking if I can learn to, stay calm and relaxed when Lupita,
Yeah.
and you got to remember, this is like I said, my short little Mexican wife. She's been, basically bodybuilding since she was 15. She's done Muay Thai. She used to do kickboxing.
Probably she did. She's a
I
tough.
I I ask people, who are you going to bet on between a fight? She out
Yeah.
squats me. So so I'm thinking if I can handle anything that Lupita Escobar throws at me,
Shit.
yeah, that is her last name.
I love
Um,
it. This is great.
I
Getting
I can I can handle anything in life. So now I've kind of got this
yeah.
attitude. If somebody, like posts something and accuses me of something or brings up some dirt from my past or, wants to cancel me,
You
I'll
can
just
process.
go,
You can
I'll go,
deal with it.
bring it,
Yeah.
bring it.
The
In
best you
fact,
got?
that's the best you got. I said, listen, call me. Let's have a conversation. I got more shit you don't know about me.
Hmm.
But everything I've ever done in my life, somebody knows about. So
Yeah.
let me tell you, because it doesn't matter if you go tell the world, because a lot of people already know about it.
Yeah.
So the fact that
Because you're
I've
not
learned
hiding
to
anything.
calm,
You're not
I'm
using
not, I'm not
energy
hiding,
to,
but I've
yeah.
learned to calm my nervous system and I know I can handle whatever comes.
Who can expose you when you've already exposed yourself in a way? And
Yeah, I already told you, a perfect stranger, that I cheated in my second marriage.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
what's going to come up that's going to bite me on the ass that I've not already said in public ways? So yeah, those two things. Number one, I got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Everything's public. What you see is what you get. And the other part is that I've been working on calming my nervous system, and I welcome the
Good.
gift of
Yeah.
those triggers. And the one other thing that, like, my wife tells me, she says, "Oh, by the way," in Spanish, she says, when I'm nervous, it makes me caliente. Caliente is horny.
Hot.
She goes,
Hot.
hot. Well,
Spicy.
more than, yeah, yeah. No, it makes me horny. That's really the best word
Yeah.
for it. It
Yeah.
makes me want to,
Yeah.
fill in the blank. And which is true. The jealousy is an evolutionarily programmed aphrodisiac. It
It,
is meant
it's
to
a good
arouse you.
thing. Yeah, it can be
It's
a good thing, right? Yeah.
meant to arouse you and basically go claim,
Mhm.
whatever it is that's triggered your jealousy. So
Why a
she
lot of
even says to me,
people rekindle after infidelity because they're like, oh, I don't want to lose that person. And oh, I realize I forgot I was so attracted to you.
it has that effect. So when my wife says to me, by the way, me getting jealous and accusing you of shit, also I'm horny at the same time, and okay,
Wait, a mad, horny Latina? Oh my
let me
God.
ponder the math on this one. As a guy, my math skills aren't great, but
Yeah.
you're angry and jealous at me, but you're also horny at the same time. Why do I want to make anything go away that makes you horny?
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry, we're not
Yeah.
fixing this.
Yeah. So in other words, why am I trying to make that behavior go away? I'm saying, oh, okay, get jealous anytime you want. And as my wife's even said, I'll never say no to you for sex, even if I'm mad at you, because she says, I'm never mad at your cock. So she says, I go, no, no, wait a minute. I need to consider that
Okay,
one
so
as
men
well.
listening are gonna ask where you found
We're,
Lupita so
we're
they can duplicate and replicate her.
Yeah, go to Guadalajara, Mexico. That's where they're
Okay.
from. Um, And so, the point is, why would I want to make any of that go away? Doesn't it make more sense that I learn to retrain my nervous system to handle all the noise that tends to come with it?
Build a self-awareness, build your own tools and how to respond to life versus trying to always fix or rid the world of triggers because it will never be a job complete, right?
Great way to put it. We're not going to
Yeah.
rid the world of triggers. The triggers are gifts and opportunities to let us do our trauma work and
Yeah.
clean this stuff out of our past.
Yeah. So first step for some guys that are, resistant to vulnerability, resistant to diving into their past, you said when you first started this journey, you got into a 12-step program. Like, is that actually what you would recommend for some men, addiction or otherwise? Like, is that a good space? Or now, because we're 2025, there's ample men's groups out there, some better than others.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Um,
You've got
I,
yours, obviously. Yeah.
I had a client call just a couple hours ago,
Yeah.
and he said, I'm really needing to start get more connected with men again in person. And he
Mm.
goes, I've thought about going back to AA, and I go, why'd you quit going to AA? The guy's a recovering alcoholic,
Yeah.
and so yes, I encouraged him. Go find a men's group. Go find a stag group in
Mhm.
AA. I said, there's no perfect group out there, but I bet you can find some that really do meet your needs to connect with guys in person. So I've been preaching that, for years. I say in No More Mr. Nice Guy, I believe the recovery process begins, number one, with finding safe people.
Yeah.
Safe people to go be vulnerable with and reveal yourself. Reveal
Otherwise, you might
things about
create more traumas, right?
well, yeah, find safe people, and that's, a coach, a therapist, a
Yeah.
12-step group, maybe a minister, a good friend.
Mhm.
Usually it's not your mother, usually not your girlfriend or wife, because, we'll hold back from
Complicated.
them. We
Yeah.
want we want their approval.
Yeah.
So go find safe people. And that's where we start releasing what's called toxic shame, the sense that I'm not good enough, I'm bad, I'm unlovable. And we get more accurate feedback is no, you're normal. Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with you. And find out that, oh, our rough edges are actually what make us interesting, the parts that we
Indeed.
tend to try to hide from people.
Yeah.
So begins with finding safe people. And guys will say, well, does it have to be a man? Well, I did my first therapist was a woman, and the men's group that I was in for 5 or 6 years was a woman therapist. So I did some pretty good work with women, especially women who liked men, who liked
Who like men.
masculine traits, right?
Yeah.
Like you do. You work with men because you like men.
I do
And
like
you
men. Yeah.
yeah, you like the idea of
Yeah.
men and you
Yeah.
like men.
Yeah.
So that can be helpful. Now, and I also encourage men to find ideally some kind of men's group
I agree.
because men evolved to be part of a tribe.
And it's
Uh,
different energy and it's
totally different.
a inspiration of like finding a mentor or someone that you appreciate some of their qualities and can emulate too, right?
We get that modeling, we get the
Yeah.
support. So, like for example, I'm in my office and I hold half a dozen workshops here, weekend workshops in a year, and usually about 8 guys. So they're like men's group size groups. When I was in
It's
Seattle,
been
I,
enough. Yeah.
I, I was doing 5 men's groups a week 'cause I really believe in it, and it's the best way for men to grow is in a group of men.
Mhm.
Two men like me, a male therapist talking to a male client, it's too easy to get in our heads and we're just intellectualizing everything.
Yeah.
Put guy in a social context, who he is starts showing up and starts getting feedback.
Yeah, it
So
sure
for
does.
example, when
Yeah.
I do a workshop here, Friday night of the workshop, 3 hours, we're just introducing ourselves and saying, why'd we come? Why'd I
Mhm.
spend, a couple grand and get on an airplane and come do this? All it takes is for one guy to open up, to be somewhat vulnerable.
And then, yeah,
He
everyone.
talks about, I've got this thing around porn. I just can't quit. Every time my wife finds it, she threatens to leave me. I feel terrible. One
Same.
guy,
Yeah.
one guy reveal his shame. Now the other guys go deeper. And now another guy shares another. And I tell these men Friday night, you're in this room looking around, you don't know anybody, you're judging each other, you're measuring each other, you're putting everybody in a hierarchy. You already like him, you already wish he hadn't come. He reminds you of some guy that you knew that was a jerk that talked too
He
much.
cut
And
you off in the
yeah,
airport on the way here.
yeah, all it's an and by the time you leave here Sunday, you guys will feel a bond and a connection like you've been frat brothers for 20 years. And it's true. They
Yeah.
do. They stay connected. They text. They get on Zoom together. They even meet in person oftentimes afterwards. I've had guys travel to Europe to go meet people they met in my online programs I used to do.
That's
So
awesome.
all it takes is men in a room
Yeah.
around other vulnerable men, and maybe it takes till Sunday afternoon for one of the guys to go, all right, I need to share something too. Maybe we've been talking Friday night, all day. Come Sunday, right after lunch, he goes, I don't want to leave here without sharing this.
Yeah.
And he shares his deep thing and he's in tears, right? Now, women say men don't have feelings or don't reveal their feelings. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Men have deep feelings. Men reveal their feelings. Watch men play sports together. Get jumping up, giving each other high fives, doing
Sports
touchdown
team
dances.
loses and their dog dies is only two acceptable times for men to cry.
To cry, and I'll be sobbing to death if anything happens to Nala.
Oh,
So my sports teams, I'm from Seattle, so
yeah.
I've given up on thinking that they're gonna give me any kind of fulfillment.
No.
So we do have feelings, and if we get a safe place, especially safe men,
Hmm.
we can get real. And there's just when I loved that initial 12-step group I went to. Like I said, I found out I really didn't belong per se. There were guys in there probably were looking at felony charges and prison
Right.
time. I mean,
Okay.
some gnarly stuff. And they're probably going, okay, you're trying to get your wife to have sex with you. Okay. Why are you in this?
Yeah. They're judging you
So
for being like a lightweight.
yeah, they didn't. They never did.
No.
That was just my thoughts about it.
Yeah.
But this program, I think it met at 6 a.m. It was about a 30-minute drive from my house. I looked forward to going to that group once a week at 6 a.m. because for the first time in my life, it was the only place I'd ever just revealed me, and I liked it. It
You feel
felt
accepted?
good. Oh, I felt accepted, but mainly I accepted me. I'm
Yeah.
sharing stuff about me, and most of the times when men like share stuff about themselves,
Yeah.
you know, the worst response they do get is, "Hey, man, you sound normal to me. That sounds like just normal human stuff."
That's
And
right.
or hey, I can see why you feel bad. You violated your moral code.
What is
how are you going to adjust that? How are you going to
what's your
adjust your behavior?
what's your take on like men expressing this level of vulnerability in their romantic relationships? Like
You mean because red pill says don't be vulnerable?
red pill says don't be vulnerable, and I think that's a load of patootie, but there's also a time and a place for it, and there's also polarity. So what's your kind of take on how much is appropriate? I call it strategic vulnerability. It's a weird way
Yeah,
that I've kind of processed it myself. But how much are you opening up deep feelings, demons, thoughts with
yeah.
Lupita versus in other safe places, and how important is that distinction? And I think that's important.
Good question. Yeah, my way of putting it is don't become her emotional tampon and don't make her your therapist. Um, yeah, I even tell my guy friends because again, the kind of the men's programs I've been a part of, a lot of them talk about like holding space for your partner while she's doing her trauma response, and I go, wait. I'm a therapist, but I'm not my wife's therapist. And
Correct.
I'm not a trauma therapist, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, hold space while my partner is going through a trauma response. I may ground and keep myself solid, but my job is not to be there and be the punching bag,
Okay.
for her to go off on. So anyway, but back to your question about the vulnerability. Most stuff you're going to find on the internet is pretty black and white. Do
Hmm.
this way, do that way. That's good. That's bad. Because it gets likes and looks and subscribes and
Yeah.
follows and saying something that has a voice of reason to it or moderation or is nuanced doesn't get a lot of likes,
No, it
right?
doesn't. People like black and white. Like, can I follow this direct rule or that
Yeah.
one?
So
Um,
be vulnerable. Don't be vulnerable. Now, so I believe here's what I teach.
mhm.
I believe for men. The vulnerability practice, I believe, is essential for us to be what I call an integrated man, to integrate all aspects of ourselves, our dark side, our light side, our spiritual side, our material side, our inner asshole, our inner, beast, our inner killer. We need a safe space to integrate all of that to where we can look at all of that and let the world see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's all pressed down and pushed away to where we're not even aware of it, we're dangerous. It's
Yeah.
going to come out one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's where I talk about the safe place with other men to do our deep work, whatever that deep work is, whether it's talking about our shame around our porn use, whether it's talking about our insecurities, whether it's talking about letting our wife walk all over us,
Yeah.
whatever it is, go find safe men to begin the process. And hopefully safe men that don't just give you advice or tell you what to do, but men that say, okay, man, I've struggled with that too. Or, you
Yeah.
sound pretty normal. Or, what would you really want to say to her if you were going to say something to her? Or where do you need to draw your line? Just where you're actually,
A
getting
safe
that
space
from
with
men.
men that can hold space and ask expansive questions versus come in and just dictate.
Yeah, tell her she better stop doing that or,
Yeah.
whatever.
I know exactly what
So
you need to do here. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
If somebody told me, Robert, you just need to leave Lupita because she's, insanely jealous, blah, blah, blah. Well, I probably wouldn't have followed that advice,
You're
even
like,
though,
the jealousy really works for me. So you don't know why
yeah, wait. You don't know about her jealousy. So,
you're.
so here's the thing. I also think that my female partner should know the depths of who I am.
Yeah.
Now, I also agree with Esther Perel that she doesn't have to know every tiny detail.
No, some
And
degree is important. Yeah.
she just the way I put it is that I better not I better not be creating any illusions or any falsehoods or leading her to believe something that is not true.
Okay.
Now, for example, let's just say talk about masturbation. Um, a lot of times in relationship, a man's afraid if a woman knows he masturbates, she's
Huh?
gonna be mad, so he doesn't tell her. So he says, no, 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 I don't look at porn, I don't masturbate, but he does.
Denial.
And
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then she finds out he does, and now she's pissed off.
And it's a breach of trust. Yeah.
Partly, mainly it's the breach of trust. Now, the man can say, yeah, I do occasionally look at porn. I do occasionally, masturbate to porn. He can even say, I'd be happy to show you the porn I look at if you ever want to look at it. And the woman may say, yeah, that'd be kind of hot. Or the woman may say, no, I hate that you look at porn. And you say, well, you need to know that I do occasionally.
Yeah.
Why? Aren't I enough? And I go, I love you. And I sometimes look at porn. And maybe
And not
no
and or
justifying.
it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
not if or it's
Yeah.
and this is me and yeah.
You say, I hear that you're not, real happy about that,
Mhm.
but I am telling you the truth. I do look at porn occasionally. And well, I want you to tell me every time you do. I go, no, I'm not willing to do that. That's
Yeah.
that's
Right.
that's a
Bound.
private part of my life.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to pretend that I don't and like fool you into thinking I don't. I do. Um, Not often, but occasionally. And I'm doing a fake
Yeah. I get
conversation
it.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hypothetically.
and
Yeah.
and she may be upset. But what I found, and I've told men this for a long time, and I found this really kind of the hard way, both as a therapist, but in a relationship, most women can handle a difficult truth.
Yeah.
They just can't handle being lied to. So tell them the difficult truth, and you can still have your privacy. Now, in terms of like the vulnerability around emotions, my first go-to person when I'm in, a state that maybe has me paralyzed or upset. Now, I might tell my wife, oh, yeah, I got an email from a guy yesterday that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not upset about it. So you got
My pup going there. Excuse me, Ginny. She's a Mexican rescue, like your Nala. Let me just bring her
yeah.
over here.
All
Come here,
right.
Parker. Yeah, but now the whole world knows because I'm not editing this out. So you just be quiet. Be a good girl. Okay. I think someone was coming to the door, probably my 10th
That
10th delivery of the day or something.
yeah, you're an Amazon addict too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
hiding that, guys.
yeah, I'm not gonna hide it. Yeah, Nala's the same way, and she
Yeah.
barks louder if it's somebody she knows. And
Oh yeah.
I was but my first interview with Chris Williamson earlier this year, actually 2024. Nala starts barking, and he goes,
Mhm.
"Well, you need to take care of that." And I'm just gonna let her out. And so I think he left that in. I don't think he edited Nala.
I'm not gonna
And,
edit it out.
and then I found out later it was my wife. She locked herself out of the gate and didn't have her key. And so, I'm doing the interview. So I saw Chris again a few months later and did a live interview with him. So I
Yeah.
was telling him, yeah, my wife had locked herself out. That's why Nala was barking.
Be
And I
fun.
came to realize, this stuff kind of becomes our signature, right?
Yeah.
We're human. We have our dogs that we love. We have the things that interrupt our interviews.
100%. Yeah.
That's life. We're human. And I completely forgot what I was talking about, except being emotional or sharing your emotions with your
You
partner.
were saying if you're in like a paralyzed place, your first
I'm
go,
going to my guy friends.
you're going to your guy friends. Yeah.
I've got a men's group that I've had together for 7 years. In fact, we'll have a call tomorrow, 90 minutes every other week.
Yeah.
We're in it for life. It's been the same seven guys for 7 years now.
Awesome.
And yeah, they're the ones I'll get on Signal. I'll reach out to one. Can one of you guys jump on a call with me? I'll share it on my next call, whatever. And so I do that work with men first. Then whatever my wife needs to know about me in that context, I'll tell her.
Okay.
Now,
That's
an
good.
example might be, I remember
Yeah.
one situation. This has been 3 or 4 years ago. Around tax time, October, my taxes have been extended. My accountant, sends me a message and he said, and my accountant is just a total numbers nerd. I don't
Mhm.
even know if he feels emotions or not. But you don't send him to break bad news to people. He
Yeah.
goes, "Okay, Robert, you need to cut a check to the IRS for $50,000." I'm
Yeah.
going, $50,000, and I pay my taxes every month, but
Mhm.
I still, my book royalties had gone up, so it's a
Yeah.
good problem, right?
Yeah.
So $50,000, it stressed me, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I had the money in the bank. I knew I could pay it, but it stressed me.
It
And I
really
knew it was
do.
going to stress me for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I went in and told my wife right away. I said, "Listen, I just found out from my accountant I have to pay $50,000 in taxes. I've got the money, but I just want you to know I'm stressed.
Hmm.
And so don't worry, did you do anything wrong? Is there something else going on?" So I went and told her about my emotions. I didn't have to process them with her,
Hmm.
but I went and told her I was having emotions so she wouldn't go into her security seeking creature thing and go, "What? What's
Or
wrong? What'd I
misreading
do? What's
something.
that?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. You're hiding it. Yeah.
she'll project the worst onto it. It's got to be something terrible. So do your deep work with men. Let your partner know the truth of
Hmm.
who you are. Let them know in any given moment if you're having a bad day or if something's up. Let her know. Just say, it's not about you. Just I'm having a bad day. I'm probably
Yeah.
kind of grumpy. I'm kind of bitchy. Not about you. Let her know, right? She may say, "Well, do you want to process it?" No, I just wanted to tell you, just so you know, it wasn't about you. And the other thing is because I'm still not fluent in Spanish. Lupita and I speak all Spanish.
Mhm. I
Um, so that kind of actually buys me a little
was
wiggle
gonna say, does
room.
that help you a little bit? Because you're like, well, I
It
don't really know
it
how to explain it
it,
anyways.
it buys a little wiggle room that I don't have to go into the deepest, darkest,
No entiendo.
I like the word ineffable. Ineffable is something that can't be described with words.
Yeah.
Well, there's things I don't have Spanish words to describe,
Great.
right?
I
I
like
can just say, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm
Maybe we should
glad.
all have our arguments in another language and then
That ironically, I said this for years that Lupita and I actually resolve problems better than any other partner I've been with, mainly because we couldn't use so many words.
Okay, so you just
We had to use
clear,
basic
simple,
words.
kind.
What
Yeah.
what's the most basic word we can find to communicate what's happening here? So
Got it.
yeah, there's benefit. So have your guys, you do your deep work with, come home from doing that. Like my second wife, I'd come home from the men's group I was in, and she'd want to go sit on the bed. "Okay, tell me, what did you do in your men's group?" And being a nice guy at that time, I'd go blow by blow, what everybody talked about, what I talked about. "Well, did you bring this up? Did you talk about that?"
Oh, now
And
it's
I
too
got
much.
to
Yeah.
I got to the point of I came home one time and said, "Listen, I'm doing my work
Mhm.
and I'm going to share with you what some of that work is, but I'm going to decide when I share it, how I share it, how much I share it. So I'm not going to come home and give you a blow by blow
Did
like
you
I'm some
bring,
obedient child that tells you everything I did while I was out of your sight."
did you do
But
your homework?
so and then when I did share something with her, like maybe later that day or a week
Mm.
later, I shared it because I really wanted to share it and really wanted her to know that about me. I said, "Here's something that I really got in touch with this week." And I would share it with her. But I had my time around processing it first, not just to give it to her. Now,
So,
again,
Men get the rawness and the details, and women get the high level summary.
Get the highlight, and it's okay if they see you have emotion. Like
Course.
my wife and I, we talk about Nala almost daily of how much it's going to break our hearts when she's not here.
Oh,
We
yeah,
just had that I mean, she'll be 5 in May, so hopefully she'll be around a while. But
yeah,
Dr. David Snarch wrote a great book called Passionate Marriage. In that book, he says, in every relationship, somebody's going to get left.
yeah,
And that's true. That's the impermanence of Buddhism,
yeah.
that nothing is forever. So I promise you, Lupita and I were just talking yesterday. We're sitting out back, and I said, when Nala's not with us anymore, we're going to sit out back and talk about how she always sat in she has her own lawn chair out back. It's been her lawn chair ever since she came into our life. That's the only piece of furniture she can get on. We'll talk about how she got in that chair, how she's wearing a jacket right now to keep her
She's just
warm.
walking past you there on
Just
the other
walking
side.
past her, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, she's wearing her little sweater. Um, and,
Well,
and, and
even though you're over there, it still is winter for you.
this is winter. It's
Yeah,
probably low 70s right now, but
yeah.
she doesn't have a lot of hair, so
She's
she gets
cute. She's
cold.
a pity, but she looks like she's got a little staffy face.
She's a pit bull Staffordshire, yeah.
Yeah, so the
Pit
same
bull
as
blue.
mine. Mine's short hair like yours, but
Yeah.
camel colored and same stature. Very cute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very short, chaparita, short
yeah,
dog.
yeah.
So I know my wife is going to see me sobbing regularly
Yeah,
if indeed something happens to Nala. My mother will be 90 in May.
yeah.
And
Stuff's coming.
odds are she's going to go before me. I don't know. I mean, she lost a husband and two of her children all in an 11-month period about 12 years ago. So she's outlived. I teased my mother. I said, Mom, you have more living direct relatives than I do. She was one of 10 kids. I told her that when she still had three
One
siblings
of 10
alive.
kids. Holy macaroni.
She had three siblings alive, still having two kids alive, and four grandkids, several great grandkids. And I said, Mom, all I've got left living is a mother and a sister and a son. You've got more living relatives than I
Yeah,
do, and you're pushing 90. But she is going to probably go before I do. I don't know, but it could. My wife will see me cry when my
yeah.
mother passes. I mean, just I didn't talk to my mother for 15
No,
years,
there will be rawness
but
and stuff will pour out, and
and
that's
it's okay if my
that's
woman
okay.
sees those feelings.
Yeah, and she'll be
And
closer to you too, right?
she will. Women always say that. Oh, I feel so much closer to you.
Yeah, closer
So,
to you, and then she won't have sex with you for like a week, and then you.
well, she will do that anyway, no matter what. But
I just looked at the time. I'm loving this conversation. I realize that in 6 minutes I'm jumping on a client call. So
I always ask interviewers, how long do you allot for this? And they always say,
yeah,
well, X amount, X amount. I go, it will go longer.
it always
Um,
does. I
they,
knew
they
it
always
was an
do.
hour, but I buffered in an extra half an hour, and I don't want to stop, but I will have to in a few minutes here.
I've had a lot of fun, and
Yeah,
thank you for letting me come talk to you folks.
absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully it was helpful.
It was absolutely, and obviously you're very
Well,
well.
you can't decide that. Your listeners have to decide it,
Yeah,
not you.
well, I found it helpful, and if
Okay.
you do, even better. And I know that a lot of people already know of you, particularly because of this book. Maybe they've picked up Dating Essentials for Men. I know you got two other
Two
books.
more.
Two
Yeah.
other books. What
Got
I don't actually know. What are the other two books?
Dating Essentials for Men, FAQ, which
Uh,
actually I think is one of my favorite books I've written, especially the Audible version, because it's like
yeah.
100 and something questions from online forums that I answer. So
Oh,
it's all me. And
oh,
I
question and
say,
answers is the whole book essentially.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is. And I say words like I've said on your show,
yeah,
because it's unedited. It's me.
perfect.
So
Yeah,
I love that. And then the other book that I co-wrote with one of my coaches is called The Big Stick,
the
that
big
talks
stick.
about everything I've taught in my courses, my programs, my books.
Check it out. Okay.
So Big Stick.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
then
yeah.
number one place, if people like want to zone in, are you more a website guy? Like, are you social, like, where's if one place for them to go?
Yeah, I'm not a social media fan. I do have social media accounts, but
I get it.
business accounts, I actually never look at it personally. But if they want to find me, drglover.com,
Right. Okay.
drglover.com,
Yeah.
has all my courses, my workshops,
Best
my
place for them.
podcast,
Okay.
and my men's program is integrationnation.net.
.net.
And we have several hundred men around the world that are in the membership program. We have over 55 calls a month that they can jump on. I
Okay.
lead one a week where I teach a lesson or interview somebody. I'm interviewing Adam Lane Smith this week,
Mhm.
who's an attachment expert.
That's
I got Allison Armstrong coming up in the near
okay, great.
future. Oliver Berkman, I love that guy. Like I said, I had Dr. Gary Chapman a couple
Yeah.
months ago. So I do an interview, or I teach a lesson, we do Q&A. I do one of those every Thursday. So
Lots of
I'm just
places, sounds like.
big,
Okay.
big believer that men need masculine community. So that's what I built. We launched it about a year and a half ago, July of 2023. And so integrationnation.net is my men's community.
So there or your website. Okay,
Either
awesome.
one.
Okay. Can you give Nala extra cuddly hug and kiss for me?
There she is. She's usually lying down here at my feet, but
Yeah.
she's either there or at the other end of that table because that table has a little cloth that hangs off it, and
Yeah.
she likes to wrap herself in that cloth.
Like they like
Um,
to, even though they're pitties, everyone thinks they're all scary and dangerous. They just like to be all like cuddled up and sweet, you know?
they're they're sweet little bundles of love. We
They
got
are.
her, my mother said, "That's a dangerous dog to get for your kids."
No.
My wife chews on her ears. My
Yes.
daughter bites her jowls of her cheeks and pulls on her
And
jowls.
she's fine.
She'll let me put pills down her throat. She'll open her mouth and let me do it.
The
So
only thing dogs don't do well enough is live long enough. You
there
know,
you go.
that's the saddest thing.
They're going to break our hearts.
Yeah, I know, I know. I don't even want to think about it right now. I'm gonna blubber all on my
There
YouTube.
we go. Yeah. So just love your dog with all
Yeah,
of your energy and all your heart every day. And that's just what I teach people. We're here to get our hearts broken.
yeah.
And anything that has the power to break our heart, we wouldn't want to miss it. So open
Cherish
up
it.
to it and love it and cherish it every day. Every day. Get down on the floor with whoever you love and tell them how much you love them.
I love it. I love it. Thank you very much. I've thoroughly
You're
enjoyed
welcome.
it. I'm confident everyone else is going to as well.
Okay, we'll go with
I'll,
that. We'll assume that.
I'll flick you an email when it goes live, okay?
Thank you. And we'll spread the word.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
very much. Ciao.
Bye bye.